Okay, everybody, we're just going to wait a few more minutes for some last minute registrants to join up, but we'll get started soon. So stick with us. Okay, everybody, welcome to our webinar on AI and software tools for health and safety in the workplace. Thank you very much for making time to go ahead and join us today. My name is Trevor Jones. I'm the CEO of Lynx Global Intelligence. With me on the call today is Matt Carter. Matt's our CTO, our Chief Technology Officer, here as well. What we're going to do today is we're going to go ahead and do a brief welcome. I'll explain a little bit about Lynx and who we are and what we do. Uh, Matt will take us through the banner functions of the health and safety module of the Lynx platform. We'll do a little bit of education around what AI is and how it can help us out in a health and safety environment. And then we'll go ahead and do a Q&A at the end. So we have about 45 minutes today. Again, thanks for making space and time in your schedule to join us. This will be recorded today. The webinar is being recorded. So if you have any questions, feel free to go ahead and put them in the chat. And we'll also give our contact info at the end of the webinar to go ahead and get in touch with us. So what is Lynx? Despite our lengthy name, most people just refer to us as Lynx. We're here in Denver, Colorado. We have a global customer base. You know, one of my favorite things to say about Lynx, it looks like we already have a question here. Make sure everything's working. One of the best things about Lynx is we have a global customer base. In other words, we are serving clients everywhere from the Arctic Circle to the Horn of Africa, right? So we really pride ourselves on the platform being scalable and really deployable to anywhere in the world. It looks like for somebody I was not audible. Hopefully that's working for everybody. Please do stop me if the audio is not coming through. We serve multiple industries. So we serve mining, manufacturing, construction, and energy. Looks like we have some more notes going on here. So audio is working. Great. Okay, so serve multiple industries, and we're a unified platform for really all of the health, safety, environmental, and community needs that you might require at the job site. Oftentimes you might have some environmental data over here, some health and safety data over here, your stakeholder data in a different place can be kind of fragmented. And so we really work to aggregate that data to put it in one platform for people so they can really see the breadth of their HSEC environment in one spot. And then the final note there is, we will be launching AI tools across the module, right? So as Matt explains the different features today, you'll see at the end how those are augmented and eventually will be driven by AI functions in the background. And so that's pretty great. I think we're at a really interesting time in terms of technology development where we can start to really see the value of these tools in the workplace and their capability to keep people a little bit more safe at the job site. So I'll keep going here, and again, let me know if any issues on the audio, but I think we're good here. Um, you know, Probably don't need to explain a lot to folks on the call why health and safety matters, but there are some concerning statistics out there in a few of the industries that we touch that I'd really like to go over. Particularly the construction industry here in the United States reported over 1,000 fatalities just 2 years ago. This is the highest number in decades, and a very concerning trend. Similarly, in mining, another industry that we serve, we had 3 to 4 times the normal amount of fatalities in the first quarter of this year compared to prior years. Um, so, these are human lives. These are people with families. These are, valuable individuals, both to their company, but also their communities, right? And so there's a really big problem to solve here, both in construction and mining domestically. And globally, if you look at these figures as well, of course, there's a big problem to be solved in terms of not just fatalities, but near misses, days lost, and these kinds of things at the job site. So, how does digital technology help with that, right? That's a big question that many people have. And by using a platform, you can become a little bit more systemic, a little bit more platformized in the way you approach these things. You can have improved incident reporting, no more illegible handwriting or lost forms. There's a wealth of data analysis tools that we can use to dig into things like near misses, et cetera. Be a little bit more proactive on our risk management. So things like notifications and alerts that Matt will go through in a second here can really help your team stay on top of health and safety protocols. And also, of course, there's compliance. So whether it's OSHA or MSHA for the miners, whatever that particular regulatory body might be, we're going to go ahead and start to be able to serve those needs as well on the compliance side. I'm going to touch on a few of the feature functions that CTO Matt Carter will go ahead and go over in a second here. So as I just mentioned, enhanced incident reporting, inspections, enhanced data, robust data capture on the investigation side. These are all things that can help foster a culture of health and safety around your job site, and digital tools can go a long way to helping. Before Matt gets into it, I'm just going to touch on a few AI notes. So probably many on the call have used ChatGPT or another similar co-pilot or program to do some work on the side. We really want to institutionalize some of those tools inside of the health and safety data management program. And so, as we say, the power of AI is not in replacing humans. I definitely want to get that out of the way. Lynx does not to seek to replace health and safety manager roles or director roles. It's really to augment those roles, right? So, whether it's surfacing trends or automating some of the documentation health and safety managers have to deal with, Ruby, which is the name of our AI that you'll see in a second, is a great co-pilot for your safety activities. So you'll see some of the features today, not all of them, because we want to make this time efficient for everybody. But you will see an AI assisted search, some suggested actions you could take around the job site, things like trend analysis, and of course, writing assistance. I know as CEO, a big part of my day, happens to be writing, whether it's social media posts or to our investors or talking to customers and clients, whatever it happens to be. I need some assistance on that sometimes, and there's a lot of data and touch points we deal with, and so I might even be liable to use the Ruby AI myself. Just a quick note on what AI means, right? We hear this word all the time, or this acronym all the time, AI. I even think, I've seen golf clubs that use AI as part of their branding, right? So what are we really talking about when we talk about AI? This is shaping the future of data management. So these can be built on top of existing historical systems, data that you might already have on hand. If you kind of think about, what is that biggest pain point when you're managing all that data, that's really where AI comes in. And what we're specifically talking about is building on top of large language models that are out there. You're probably familiar with some of them, ChatGPT probably being the primary one, but there's many out there. And then what Lynx does is build a RAG model, a retrieval augmented generation model on top of that LLM. What this allows you to do as a user is search back into those documents, back into all that data that's logged into Lynx, and ask it a simple question, right? Super useful for somebody like me that might not have an engineering background or a super technical background to try to understand what's going on inside the corporate environment, or more specifically, the health and safety environment, as we're talking about today. So as you type in that question to Ruby, our AI, it'll go retrieve that answer based on real data, the real documentation that you have in that corporate environment. use the large language model to then give you a nice response, right? A nice interpretable human level response that you can go ahead and use in many, many different ways. So with that, and assuming that our tech is working this morning and everybody can see and hear, all right, I will go ahead and introduce our illustrious Chief Technical Officer. He really is the wizard driving the core functions and the team on the dev side at Lynx, Matt Carter. He's just going to go over some of the core health and safety functions um, in a construction environment. But please, keep in mind that this is agnostic to any kind of workplace setting that you might have health and safety needs, such as incidents, investigations, or inspections. So I've said enough. I hope I was able to introduce Lynx and touch on some of the things that we've started to work on. Without further ado, Matt Carter, our CTO, can take you through some of the nuts and bolts of what the Lynx platform actually does.
Great. Thank you for that intro, Trevor. Are you able to see my screen? Okay, perfect. So yeah, to kind of go off what Trevor said there, I'm going to go ahead and just do a quick run through of kind of the standard health and safety features that Lynx currently offers. We'll end it with a little bit of a preview of some of the AI functionality, and then I'll pass it back to Trevor to go just a little more in depth on the AI side. However, what I'm currently sharing on my screen is the Lynx platform. And the first place we will start today is our dashboard. So this will be kind of the initial landing page when you log into the application. What you'll see on here is kind of everything that, depending on your role of work, that you kind of need to see when you start your day. So these dashboards are fully customizable. You can really tee these up to kind of give you a look into anything you need to see. What we're kind of looking at currently would be more for the audience of, a health and safety manager. So kind of overseeing all the health and safety events that are happening at the work site. And I'll just kind of point out a few things on this dashboard quickly. We can see how many days since a lost time injury, how many incidents we've had year to date, the last 30 days of incidents, how many corrective or preventative actions are overdue and haven't been completed. Inspections month to date, so we can start to see all the inspections that have been performed at the site this month. Incidents year to date, and again, fully customizable. So these are just the examples I queued up for this webinar. But you can start to see kind of the breakdown of the incident types that occurred at the workplace this year. A nice part about these dashboards as well, you can drill down into the data that's actually behind them. So let's say I want to see really quickly all my near misses or all my, this is as a field user, super useful to be able to come into your dashboard, see that, hey, I have these 2 overdue actions that I need to complete. But I think for the best starting point for today, I'll go ahead and we'll take a look at some of the incidents on the incident grid. So we'll start with incidents. We'll look at preventative and corrective actions. We'll look at inspections, and we'll also look at how we track other just general event-based data. So to start my part of the presentation, I'm going to go ahead and drill down here and say, hey, I want to see all my near misses this year. Click on that. It's going to bring me to my incident grid, and you'll see the list of the near misses that occurred this year. I'm going to go ahead and clear my filter just so we can see the full incident grid here. And one thing I want to mention too is, again, this is, what I'm presenting to you today is definitely from the admin view, right? So you're going to be able to see pretty much everything that occurred on these incidents. But I will touch on, how we protect personal data and how we secure this information to make sure that, field users who are logging in and, just to really quickly mention, we really want to empower everybody to have Lynx on their device to be able to log an incident, whether you're a contractor, employee, et cetera. But again, we make sure that they only get to see the data that they need to see. So you'll see quickly kind of in my incident list, a handful of different statuses associated to the incidents. I'll go over creating an incident, just a really basic example so we can get a better look at this, but you'll see, pending initial review, pending final review, investigations, closed incidents. You might have something pending actions. So a wide range here of statuses that help you kind of monitor what's happening with all the incidents that have been logged at the workplace. I'll go ahead and just add an incident here for an example. And again, the intention here is we empower everybody at the site to have the access to this incident report. This is a fictitious construction project environment, so deep Elm towers, and we'll just pretend we had an incident in the warehouse. Again, a pretty simple example here. I'll go ahead and put in what I think my expected severity is and my expected type are. These will get reviewed and set by whoever has the authority to do the review of the incident. And we'll go ahead and say that this was a no days lost injury. We can also associate departments. Again, this all comes into play with who gets alerted and kind of what the notification workflow is for the incident. We'll say this is somebody in the engineering department. We'll say slip on floor. We'll say employee slipped on warehouse floor. My immediate actions taken, pretty standard incident reporting form. I can go ahead and say, mop floor. And we'll say the reason he fell was because rain, wet floor. I can then come down and on this initial form log, who are the affected parties, who are the witnesses. We could say it's associated to a user in Lynx, or I can go ahead and add someone else. We'll just make up a employee here. We'll say poor Tom fell on the floor. Put in the details of this employee. This could also be a contractor, it could be a third party, etc. Witnesses, we'll say Trevor was a witness to this. And we can do attachments as well. I'm not going to add an attachment at this point, but we'll go ahead and submit this form. And once that gets submitted, you'll see that the incident changes to pending review. And there are fully customizable notification settings here that, depending on the type, depending on the severity, who gets alerted, right? So maybe if it's a high severity incident, this needs to go up to the highest level and be reported right away. Maybe if it's a low severity incident, the only person who gets notified is the department head to go ahead and do this review process. But I'll come in here and, my user currently logged in is a full system admin, so I'll have permissions to do everything here. And I will go ahead and say, we do require further investigation. I am the investigation lead. Let me go ahead and save and submit this now. And you'll see a few things changed. We have all these new sections here. And I want to be very clear that all these ones with this little shield symbol are the protected personal information sections that are only going to be available to the admin users in the system or anyone who's been indicated that they should have visibility into it. I, as the investigator, will come in here. I could optionally add a few new people into my investigation team, giving them access to the investigation. And we have a fully customizable, this is customizable by the users, investigation forms, right? And these can change depending on severity as well, right? So if you have a high severity, probably going to be a more detailed investigation form. Low, medium severity, you might just kind of need these initial details. For the sake of this example, I'll just go ahead and sign this quick and not actually fill this out. And I'm going to go ahead and save and submit it. And of course, we can validate to make sure this is actually filled out. But for this demo, we're just going to leave this blank and proceed. You'll see that after the investigation, it goes into final review. I can go through quick. We can update stuff for our witnesses, for our affected parties. However, I also want to touch on preventative and corrective actions. So these are kind of the actions that you log against incidents, against inspections, against events, etc. And I can say that, based on what happened, we need to hang up wet floor signage. And we'll go ahead and say need to hang up 10 posters in the warehouse about wet floors. Again, very simple example here. Go ahead and give that a priority. Again, these can dictate kind of who gets notified, etc. What the category is, probably a mix of both. We'll go ahead and call it preventive. I'll assign this to Trevor. I need him to actually go complete this. And I'm going to say, Trevor, I need this done in 2 days. Evidence required. This is a pretty interesting one. We can say that we need a comment and an attachment, meaning that, Trevor, when you complete this, you need to take a picture, you need to add it to this action and submit it to me. For this example, to keep it easy, I'm going to say I just need a comment, and I'm going to go ahead and submit this. Similar to incidents, there is this approval stage, right? So I, as maybe the department head or as the health and safety manager, come in here, I get a notification, and I say, yeah, let me take a look. This is either approved or it's not approved. I need some changes, etc. I'll go ahead and approve it. Trevor now gets notified. Hey, Trevor, you need to go and complete this action. Trevor goes out, completes the action, says, action completed. In a real ideal world, he uploads a picture here showing that he completed the work, and I could go ahead and complete this action. Again, similar to incidents, now there's a final review stage. So as the health and safety manager, I can come in here and say, it looks good, and close this action out completely. Switching back over the incident now, you'll see, again, the incident's now in final review. If this action was still open or pending, this would actually say pending actions, letting me know there's open corrective actions against the incident. And I come in here and just do a quick final review, right? Everything looks good. And we close out the incident. So really quick overview of kind of how incidents and actions work in the Lynx system. Again, attachments, investigation attachments, these are protected to only investigation team members or to admins, making sure we protect any of this personal private data. And then, some audit fields here to kind of see every stage of who did what and what was updated on the incident. Okay, moving next, we'll go take a look at inspections. So another big place that Lynx can help in the health and safety world is with doing workplace inspections. And so, we currently have quite a large library of inspection forms that we can go ahead and load up into the system. One thing I probably should have mentioned earlier and is really important with inspections is this all works mobile in the field. And furthermore, it works offline as well. So if you need to go and log these, if you need to take the inspections on your tablet, say you need to inspect a piece of equipment, you can go out to the equipment, do it on your tablet, even without internet, get back to the office, sync that data up, and it all gets created in the Lynx system. For this example, we might say, let's maybe do an equipment inspection. So I want to do a dump truck inspection. Here's the date. Again, we can schedule these out into the future so that field users can be notified, hey, you have an inspection due today. Complete this inspection. I'm going to assign this to Trevor. Sorry, I'm making him work a lot today. And we can go ahead and pick, a dump truck from here, which I'm not sure which one of these are dump trucks, but we'll just pick an excavator here. Optional description, and you can go through and submit the inspection form just like you would a paper form. Again, I do want to mention we have a huge library of these inspection forms that customers can pick from for many different industries. And these are all also fully customizable, right? So you could pick one of our forms from the library, come into the settings, edit the form to make it fit for your use case, or just build a completely new form from scratch that matches, an existing paper form that you currently use in the workplace. And just like incidents, you can go ahead and then associate corrective or preventative actions to the inspection itself. So let's say I'm doing a smoke alarm test and we need to replace batteries. Go ahead and log that, assign that, make sure this is getting finished. Couple other things I'll touch on just really briefly for the health and safety to kind of keep this quick here. We also do sensor-based data, health and safety sensor-based data. So that could be air quality. We have a few examples here: weather station, sound level, gas meter. We could do vibration, any sensor-based data. Furthermore, we can also do monitoring event-based data if you do have water sampling, air sampling that's more event-based and not sensor-based. We do have a system for that. I'm not going to show that too much currently, but you can kind of see what the time series data looks like coming in. These can be direct integrations to the sensor itself. Furthermore, we have a super simple import process. If you just take a spreadsheet once a month, import it into the system, you're good to go. The nice thing about the live integration is that we can associate monitoring limits to the sensors themselves, right? So let's say I want to be alerted if something's over 1,500 parts per million for my carbon dioxide at this air quality sensor. With these limits configured, something comes in, it's over the value, real-time alerts to the correct people to make sure that they're notified that there might be an issue in this area. Another section we'll touch on quickly here, and this is kind of the last main piece of the health and safety offering, is our event tracking system. And events can really be used to track any event-based data. You'll see in this example, campaigns, compliance checks, contractor meeting, permit audit, staff meeting, super common for people to track trainings in here. And if we actually go to a kind of completed event here, you'll see all the different things that you can start to track on here. We can associate tags. In this example, it looks like we're referencing some OSHA standards. What team members were involved. We have a contact kind of CRM type section where you can, any third-party contacts, track them in here. You can link events. So if, there's maybe meetings happening in a sequence, you can go ahead and link them all. Again, the actions can be associated to the events, location-based data, correspondence log if there's back and forth correspondence with a third party, and then a comment section too, where I can say, hey, Trevor, this needs your attention. And he will go ahead and get an alert that I tagged him and that he needs to do something on this event. Okay, so that's kind of the really quick run around the bases of health and safety. I definitely encourage anyone who wants more info on any of the things they're kind of seeing on this left-hand sidebar to please reach out for a demo, because there's so much more we could go through. We just, are trying to keep this fairly quick. However, in the realm of AI, since I know that's kind of the most exciting part here, I'll go ahead and kind of kick this off and then pass it over to Trevor. So on all our grids, you're going to have this AI assistant, right? And so, of course, I could come in here and say, I want to filter for everything that has a status of complete. But, I don't want to do that. I could come in here to my AI assistant and just say, show me all my complete events, right? And it'll go ahead and pull up that same list. However, even more exciting is, we can ask it more of a general question here. So I kind of have, let's see this, based on our events, what actions should we take, and let me make sure I'm spelling correctly, to establish a better safety culture? And let me go ahead and ask it. And we will sit here for hopefully just about 20 seconds while it parses through all the events, not only the events, all the attachments on the events, any actions related to the events. So really everything contained in the event itself. And once it comes up with an answer here, I will take a sip of coffee while I wait. Okay, love the answer. And you can kind of start to see what this response looks like. So it went through all our events and it said, based on the events provided, here are some actions that can be taken to establish a better safety culture. Continue and expand safety awareness campaigns. Love it. Enhance training programs. And you can see it's actually looking at the actual events we logged here. So it knows about our spring safety kickoff. It knows about our fire awareness campaign. And it's suggesting improvements based on those. Won't go over all of this, but if I keep scrolling down here, you can then see I can actually drill into the events that it references, or even just show these in my grid to get a quick grid view of all the events that it referenced in my query. I think with that, I'll go ahead and pause and pass it back to Trevor.
Fantastic. Thanks, Matt. Really appreciate the detailed walkthrough there. As everybody on the call can tell, Matt can help our customers and does help our customers with all kinds of detailed requests in terms of how to really calibrate this for their teams. And he's a fantastic resource. And I'll also just point out that we're pretty fun guys to work with too. So please do get in touch. You can find the link for a personalized demo in the chat. It's a nice calendar where you can just pick a nice time for you on Calendly, a time that works for your team, and get that set up. So please do that. Now we're going to go ahead and move on to Q&A. I know we have some health and safety experts on the call. I'm sure there's some thoughts about AI or how some of the module features and functions can help your team. If anybody wants to go ahead and ask a question, I believe I can selectively unmute you if you want to put your hand up. You can also put your question in the chat. So please feel free to ask us anything related to Lynx, but also about AI, about the status and kind of state of health and safety software in the market. Please let us know if there's anything out there. And Matt, I might rely on you to look at the hands because I'm kind of limited on my screen view. So any questions? I will posit one to Matt if we don't have any questions from the audience.
Yeah, I don't see any hands up, Trevor.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Matt, can you talk a little bit about if a company doesn't have an existing form library, if if they don't kind of have an existing regime for some of these inspections, how could the Lynx form library help them a little bit? I think that could be a good thing to touch on.
Yeah, absolutely. So we do have, and we are currently still compiling quite a large library of inspection forms. These are all tagged by kind of industry and use case. So we have a pretty big bucket of manufacturing, construction. We really know mining, so we have quite a bit of those. And as part of implementation on the Link system, we'll meet with you and we'll kind of go through and help I guess inform what the best forms for what you are doing would be. However, beyond that, if you're months into using the system and you're like, hey, we're thinking about starting to implement this process, you can go into the settings, you can search through the form library, tag on keyword, etc., to say, hey, I need a bulldozer inspection, or I need a surface mobile inspection, or I just need a daily workplace safety inspection, right, for construction. And you can go ahead and just click those, add those into your system, and you're off to the races. So, I certainly hope it helps make, generating these forms easier for companies if they don't have them. But we also have, the internal expertise on our end to help kind of shape what those inspection processes should look like.
Fantastic. All right. Well, we are reaching the tail end of this presentation today. Again, this has been recorded. If you'd like to share it with any of your colleagues, other teammates that might be interested in how a digital approach to health and safety data management and even AI can start to help out your team and keep people more safe and healthy around the workplace, please reach out. We have a link for a demo in the chat. You can also please visit our website for white papers, case studies. Every time we do a development release, we're going to put those new features out and email our users about them. And that's, of course, lynxglobalintelligence.com. So with that, we will end on a note about the paramount importance of safety culture. Um, Sitting through some of the presentations this year myself on fatalities in construction, mining, manufacturing, and other industries, it's become very personally important to me that we get this right. And to get it right, we really need your engagement, your feedback, and your use of the platform. So please do book a demo. We're happy to be a resource. As I said, we're fun to work with, and ultimately there to help you be more efficient, save some time and money on these health and safety data capture practices. So big thanks to our Chief Technology Officer, Matt Carter, for the detailed walkthrough and his time today. And thank you to all of our registrants for your time. We know you're busy trying to keep people safe and healthy at your job site. Please use us as a resource, and we'll see you on the next Lynx webinar, which is going to be on community and stakeholder management on May 20th. Again, I'm Trevor Jones, CEO of Lynx Global Intelligence, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.